All right, it is 5:30. The Finance and Personnel Committee is called to order. We'll begin with the roll. Alder Bellinger? Here. Alder Close? Here. Alder Decker? Here. Alder Perella? Here. Mitchell is here. We have a full quorum. Will you all please join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that brings us to item number 4, the approval of the minutes from the February 9th meeting. Is there any discussion on those minutes? If not, we would be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the minutes. Motion by Alder Perella, second by Alder Decker. Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Those minutes are approved. Next up is the public comment period. Limit of 3 minutes per person with comments limited to items on this agenda. Do we have anybody wishing to speak tonight? Brian, we'll just ask that you state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Brian Kelly, 2006 South 9th Street. There is the item, which one was it? Item 8 on the agenda for the professional services for leadership training. I just want to speak out, the price seemed kind of high, but I don't know all of the details behind it. I just know I am familiar with a program at UWGB that ranges from like $400 to $1,000 a person, whereas this one was about $6,000 a person. So I don't know all the details behind it, but it just seemed a little high to me. So just wanted to make sure people are aware that there's other programs locally that may accomplish a similar goal.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Please state your name, address, and the item you're speaking to, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Mark Mahoney, 832 North 6th Street, Sheboygan. That property is located right next to the former Wells Fargo building. So I'm a resident of the Landmark condominiums, and I'm the board president. And I just wanted to have a few comments. The first one is that the Landmark is going to get a visit from the mayor on Thursday. So I appreciate that, to receive input from the neighbors, inform them about the building project. So that's welcome and appreciated. So thanks in advance for that. But in preparation for that meeting, I found out about the meeting tonight, and so I wanted to come and see what else I might learn from the meeting tonight. And also, I looked at the agenda, which in the board packet with additional information about the development. And so I read through that. I had also read about the pre-development information that was, received some time ago by the city that sort of laid out how this was going to go. And I guess my only comment is, when I looked at the development agreement, it looked like it was ready for execution like March 3rd, March 6th, something like that, shortly after this meeting. And I wasn't really sure how these things usually work. I've seen some planning commission meetings and see how those projects come to the planning commission, they're questioned, maybe adjustments are made, and then it goes to the council for approval, and then they go ahead and execute whatever the contracts and get the project done. But this one looked like it was the development approval would be given before there was a planning commission meeting, public comment, and maybe further public comment before the council. So I don't know if this is out of the ordinary or that's always the way business is done, but just logically it would seem like you would receive comments from the neighbors, input, planning commission input, and all of that before you execute the development agreement, because what if you want to make some changes? What if the planning commission said, well, we're uncomfortable with this and we're uncomfortable with that, go back to the developer, and as a developer application is reviewed, maybe some adjustments are made. And I don't know if it would be too late to do that after the development agreement is made or not. I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying that that was a question that occurred to me when I looked at the documents. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else wishing? Yes, we do.
Hi, I'm Lisa Salgado, 4th Street. I'm here to talk about the Wells Fargo site. First of all, I think it's great that we're doing infill projects. The infrastructure's already there. We're not building sprawl, so I am really happy about that. This is in my neighborhood. But I also question why this isn't going to a plan commission first. We don't really know the quality of the building, the materials they're using. There's quite a number of apartments there, and we don't know how many parking spaces are actually inside the building. On the outside, it didn't look like very many. So like if there's households with 2 cars, where are all these cars going to go? And has the Plan Commission reviewed the plan site, the elevations, and the zoning compliance? Also, the but-for test, I was wondering, I didn't see an Ehlers report that really tested it. According to the contract, they asked the developer if they would be willing to do it, you know, without subsidies. And is this really a but-for test? I think this is a great site. It's downtown. It's a great place to live. You're right in the middle of everything. And I just find it hard to believe that we couldn't find other developers that would be interested in this site. You know, could we get bids? Could we find someone that could do it less expensively or maybe without a TID at all? So that's something that I think we should consider, because this is a hot location. And why are we pushing this TID through so many years before the developer's ready to build? They're not going to start building until mid-2028, and they're not going to be finished until mid-2029. So I think we have a lot of time to explore other options and developers. The land is currently worth $3.6 million. So what if we sold the land? We are going to be giving incentives of a total of $8 million. So that's a lot with the price of the land plus the developer incentives. That's $8 million is a lot that citizens are having to pay for and take a loan out for with interest on the bonds. Also, I noticed the neighbors weren't notified. And we're going from a 1-story bank to a 5-story apartment building. So I think going to the Plan Commission first would just make sense there. And just for transparency and fiscal responsibility. And then just one last comment on the executive coaching. According to the human resource book for the city, it's required for this price point that you do get bids for the executive coaching, and I didn't see anywhere that that was done or that other programs were looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? All right. If not, then we will move on to item number 6, which is resolution number 167 of 2526, adopting the 2026 seasonal employee compensation rates effective March 1st, 2026. City Attorney.
Thank you. Typically, we like to include this in the budget, but we were reworking this a little bit to split them out. So we used to have a single schedule for seasonal and limited term employees. We thought it was more appropriate to split them out to identify the rates of pay based upon the tasks assigned rather than just a blanket rate of pay. Happy to answer any other questions.
Questions or comments from committee? If not, we would be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Alder Perella, second by Alder Decker. Seeing no discussion, then all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. That one is approved. Next up is item 7, resolution number 168 of 2526, authorizing the continuation of the self-insured workers' compensation program.
Thank you. So this is an annual event we bring forward to just allow the city to continue our self-insurance program for workers' compensation. We file paperwork with the state after council approves this resolution.
Any discussion from committee? Alder Decker.
Oh, I just have one quick question. So who administers it, though? If we are self-insured, but do we have a third-party administrator, or do we administer
we
it
do.
ourselves? Okay, thank you.
Alder Close.
Yes, so with self-insurance, one of the biggest hazards is, of course, just prevention, just making sure that folks are not getting into situations where they need to tap into this. Do we have any current safety programs or health programs or things like that that our employees are able to tap into for this?
Absolutely. We work with CIVMIC, Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance, to conduct safety audits of the departments, identify gaps, and we work to address those immediately. The departments that have higher hazards on the day-to-day operations have safety plans, safety meetings, safety policies, et cetera. We also ensure that the general office environment is safe for all employees, and that's always at the top of our mind. So as issues come up, if employee safety can be brought into that, we are certain to do it.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Perella, second by Alder Decker. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. That one is approved. Next up is item number 8, resolution number 169 of 2526, authorizing the appropriate city officials to execute a professional services agreement with Arbiter Institute Incorporated for leadership training.
Good evening. I can start with that one. This is a request from all of our department heads, so we've been working for the last few months trying to select the training that would best fit the needs of the city, given what's taken place. I know Caitlin's going to talk a little bit about what she's done as far as training since she's been here. The overall goal, as we've discussed numerous times with council, is that cultural change, making sure that we start reducing employee turnover and we give employees the tools that they need to move forward. I know there was some discussion, or people have brought up, what about other things like the UW Green Bay program? We already do put all supervisors, all members of management through a very similar training through CIVMIC. What's really nice about those, they're great refresher programs, but they're not actual management systems. So they have different practices, best practices in different areas, good ideas, things to help you keep current, but not necessarily an overall mindset. And that's what we're looking at here is mindset training that helps you, helps prepare staff to better address working in a public environment. This is something that's scalable across every department. It's utilized in organizations all over the world. This particular company's been around for about 40 to 50 years. And I've talked with Georgetown's Texas. I've talked with Wayne Narrow personally to better understand. Chief Zempel has talked to several police departments, and as we indicated in the memo, the Sheboygan Police Department has been working with Arbiter and utilizing some of its trainings for the last 3 years, roughly 3-4 years. So we do have familiarity with it. We do have some success with it. As far as cost, yes, this is definitely a little more expensive than you would see in your traditional training. But also want to point to, this is also a year-long process. This isn't a a training program where they go to a 1-hour class and you're paying $100 for them to attend this. This is an ongoing program. Each participant will get 6 hours of one-on-one training in addition to the classroom training and the periodic follow-ups that we'll have with the cohort throughout the process. So the intent, this tackles a little more than half of our management team. And then going forward, we would internally train this to make sure that it stays current, and we make sure that this becomes the management expectation that we hold our staff to and hold our department heads to. We've got a number of our department heads here this evening. The library, we've got Garrett's here. Garrett obviously is doesn't fall under the city group as far as, he works directly for the library board, so he kind of has the alternative of participating. He's elected to participate, given this discussion and being a part of that. Joe Trueblood also voluntarily said he would like to participate at the water utilities. So this is truly something that we've looked at as a group and we feel is a good fit. Every department has a different, I'd say a little bit different reason for needing this and wanting this in their department. But I'll start with Chief Zempel.
Thanks. I think I can add a little context that'll be helpful for the committee members. If you're not aware, I teach a 3-week leadership class that is the International Association of Chiefs of Police's curriculum, their flagship leadership course. Primarily that if you were to attend that class through the IACP, it costs $1,600 per student, but it doesn't include any of the other follow-up or on-site work that the proposal in front of you does here today. There are lots of, I think members of this committee probably also remember that we worked with change management recently, and there was considerable expense there to try to address cultural things and turnover as well. I first became exposed to the Arbinger Institute's material in 2019 at a conference at Kansas City PD. I have a friend at Kansas City PD. She's a major there and was trained to teach this to the rest of the department along with a cadre of instructors that they had locally. And they've conducted training for the Kansas City Police Department multiple times. We, at our department, we used the Outward Mindset book with our supervisory staff in department meetings and other internal meetings. We did not. We just purchased the books. We didn't hire them to come train for us formally, but mostly because we didn't have the resources just as our department to do so. However, we all really agreed that the material is really strong and really of value, especially in public organizations. The leadership class that I teach, we feel, so our goal is to send every one of our employees through that class. Obviously with turnover, we're never going to get caught up. But we've got probably about 65 to 70% of our department trained on that material now. That's, I would say, a little bit less theoretical and more practical, the material in that training. We feel like the Arbinger Institute's material really fills in one of the gaps of that program, where it really is about doing the work yourself as a leader and as a peer, sort of your own internal viewpoints and approaches to your interactions with your peers and with the public and with all stakeholders. And so we really think it's a value. And just to echo, certainly $6,500 per participant is not cheap. But I think the fact that it includes 6 coaching sessions for each individual employee is to purchase that kind of service anywhere. It seems like it's pretty much in line with that. So that's just a little bit of perspective on it.
Thank you. I am speaking a little bit more freely about this item in particular, and I hope the committee appreciates my perspective. I've been here almost 5 years now, and I will say that the city has gone through or attempted to go through several programs throughout my time here. I will say some have been successful in certain ways, and some have been complete unsuccessful projects or attempts at trying to encourage the leadership team to maybe come together a little bit more and really help the culture, as in the environment for employees and people here at the city. So I will speak that the Arbinger Institute, I did read the book, and I feel that I'm excited about the potential opportunity because it looks at us as an organization and how we can work together instead of getting samples of, options or problem-solving type things that can be used, yes, across the board, but it's looking at how I can interact better with the police department or the fire department, public works, how we all can work together in a more productive way. And coming from the top, the leaders down, it all makes a difference. So from my perspective, you can take it for what it's worth, but I think $6,000, yes, of course, the finance person is going to say there's always going to be a cheaper way, but if we know what we're getting from the $6,000, I do think that is a value that you can't consider with the dollar amount. So thank you.
Any other city attorney?
Thanks. Speaking in my personal capacity, not as the city council for the council, having read the book to understand the Arbinger Institute approach, it generally is, it encourages adults to look at their conversations and relationships in a full spectrum way. So what do you bring to the table? What does the other person bring to the table? Where are there assumptions that create unhealthy dynamics? How can we break those assumptions down? How can we work together to solve your goals, solve my goals, without throwing anyone else under the bus? It's a collaborative style that I think fits the department heads really well. We are all supervisors of our own departments, but we are working toward common goals. We work for the city as an organization, and sometimes we are in a state of competition, right? There are limited resources available, so what is the priority? How can my priorities take precedence over your priorities? Those sorts of things. Those are common conversations in government, and the tools and approach that the Arbinger Institute models are really healthy ways to dialogue those issues and find solutions.
Chief?
Oh, yeah. Garrett, while you're hopping up there, I just wanted to add one thing really quick. I think the council members may be aware that this training maybe wasn't as well received somewhere else. I will tell you my experience in teaching leadership, no leadership program is a panacea. Right? No one leadership program is going to make everyone walk out the door and be a wonderful leader. Okay? Bad leadership is bad leadership no matter what class you've been to. Okay? Or what program you've gone through. But I think starting with a point of senior leadership commitment to it and internalization and role modeling of that is really what's, I think, going to make sure that it's effective. And hopefully that's what you're hearing from all of us today.
Is this on? Yep. Okay, as Casey mentioned at the library, we're independent and sometimes that hurts us. And in this case, I think the library, the water department, all the special departments really need to be a part of this. As Caitlin said, it's just good if we're all speaking the same language. And that's why I think it's important that the library steps in and becomes part of this program as well. That's kind of what I'm thinking as I look at this. So, and the book was excellent. It's really about looking at yourself and making sure that you're seeing your own weaknesses and working with others and just trying to work collaboratively, as been stated. So.
Any other comments from staff? All right, take these in order. Elder Close.
Yeah, I would like to address the question of bidding. And I know there's lots of these types of programs, leadership training, program management training, things like that, and a lot of different types of concepts that are out there for leadership and best practices. So how did we land on this, or was it that because we were already involved in Arbinger, was there a bidding process in which we examined a number of different programs and weighed them on how best they could help us? Or did we move forward with this one because we were already involved in this from the police department?
Actually, kind of a mix. So we looked at we've looked at a number of different things since I've started here because, we've discussed over and over and over about addressing employee turnover, addressing culture, training, things like that. So we wanted to really focus on, building that collective team. I think we've done a great job internally. Our department head meetings are completely different from where we were at 2 years ago. And seeing staff turnover drastically change. We've seen a lot of the environment changing, and we wanted to find a leadership program that was in line with where we're heading. And a lot of what Arbinger teaches is in line with where we want to go. There's no training that's going to address every department. So looking at training that focuses more specifically on individuals and empowering individuals with the tools. When we talk leadership, we often find programs that ignore, the customer service side of things or are more siloed. And, that's kind of the hallmark that we see with Arbinger and what we've heard from other communities and the research that we've done in discussing is finding out that, it's really a scalable, whether it's a department of one or a department of, 100, some of the departments that we talk to, Kansas City Police Department, several thousand, understanding that this is scaled very, very well and it works well because it's structured and it focuses on collaboration. So that kind of helped narrow us down to that. And then, as we got talking, Chief and I started discussing and, he said, that's a program we looked at a number of years ago. We've implemented portions of it. So, getting a better understanding how it's been successful internally, that's been able to be shared with our other department heads. So, obviously this would be a sole source purchase, which is allowed under Wisconsin state statute and it's allowed under our fiscal policy. This is what we feel is the best alignment and best fit for the city. It doesn't throw out work that's been done by using Arbiter over the years. So cost effectively, it reduces our costs of training future staff down the road. And it also kind of builds in some in-house trainers for us as we transition organization wide into this. So yes, we work through a process of this. I think we started discussing this in October, November timeframe. And about January, February, we've kind of really honed in on that discussion and decision that, collectively all the management team would like to go to this model.
Okay, good. One follow-up. So from a budgetary perspective, again, this is a large sum. Does this pull from other training that the city might have had available to them otherwise? Will other departments need to forego training in order to do this training?
No, that's why we wrote the resolution the way we wrote it. We want to make sure that we're not taking away from, critical training. A lot of the training we have for some departments rests on certifications that employees need to maintain accreditation. So we wrote the resolution that if there's available funding, then we'll take it from there. Otherwise, we'll look at using the contingency fund. And just to kind of point out, the changes we've been making, we've redone the personnel policy a couple times, trying to kind of root out some issues that we find through the process. We're updating policies, the fiscal policies I believe we did 2 years ago. We've instituted a lot of different changes, implementing safety plans, standard operating procedures across the organization. It's really working well. I believe last year, kind of looking at how we've changed handling things, it's really made us more effective in our budgeting process, and we're much better in line. It sounds like last year we're trending about $1 million of fund balance, $1 million left, even though we had budgeted when we started the budget year, we were looking at using fund balance throughout the year. So overall, I think we're close to about $3 million under budget for last year's budget. So we've got contingency available in this year's budget, but we also have an excessive amount that was left over from last year's budget. So that comes back to the way we're approaching policy, the way we're approaching how we're spending money, how we analyze things. So What you've heard from your department heads is that it's done a lot more collaboratively now, and I think that's also helping to reduce costs that we would normally have seen in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Perella?
Thank you, Chair. Let me say first that training is good, leadership training is great, it is needed, and that is that. However, the price tag of this training is what first kind of surprised me. And therefore, I really would like to ask again, tell us more about this training is so unique. What is that we have to address in our workforce that this specific training, although not universally or objective a panacea, but at least why this is so unique that is appropriate for our workforce right now? What is it, in fact, so much so that justifies the sole source procurement of this? Because if you search around, there are many other leadership training type of that address mindset changes, not only skills. So there are many, right? It's not the only one. Why this is so specific or unique? And I'm not judging in the sense that I do not have the knowledge of this. This could be amazingly good and the money could be justified, but, a mindset, sorry, I don't want to be sarcastic, but I could pay someone to go in individual session for $6,500 and change my mindset individually somewhere else. So it's not that it's not possible, and it is expensive. So tell me more about this is unique and why it is really a good fit for our leadership right now, if you can.
All right. So I think a lot of what was said really addresses that. Looking at what's unique about this training that we don't see in a lot of other trainings. So, when you're talking more of these program-based, like what we already do for free through CIVMIC, where we make every employee, or we have every department head and a managerial employee go through CIVMIC. They take a leadership course through CIVMIC that lasts a little over a year for them to get through all of it. It's not really specific to an individual, but it's more the skill sets of management rather than the application of those skill sets. So what we're looking at with this type of training, we're looking at equipping employees with the tools to address issues, whether they're, in their personal life, if they're at work, they're interpersonal, they're between departments. So it's their overall approach to management, to leadership, and collectively as a group. So what are the objectives that are unique about this? It's equipping staff to dealing with the public. I mean, we're in really a different kind of environment right now where we're seeing staff being accosted constantly. We have the way we're handling interactions with the public, and we don't want to see, at the end of the day, we are a public service entity. We want to make sure that customer service is our top priority. And when our employees are, adverse to working with the public because of the way they've been treated, that's difficult, and that creates animosity within the department, within the organization, and ultimately service levels start going down. And we want to equip staff with the ability to, handle that appropriately, talk about that, and address it. And then, the making decisions, going through the actual role and function of being a manager, understanding, you're going to have differences between employees. You're going to have differences between departments, and not creating silos, and understanding and equipping staff with the ability to work through those issues collectively and collaboratively in the best interest of the city, the department, and ultimately the citizens that we serve. So there's a number of, yes, there's a lot of programs that have different areas that hit all of this, but there's not really a whole lot of organizations that have had the success that this organization have had. that is scalable, that works in all levels of the organization, so long as there's an organizational commitment to the program. So,
May I follow up, Chair?
I think the chief had a second answer to the first question.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can extend on that a little bit. I think one of the advantages of this program is that it's a cohesive model. It's a complete, essentially a complete training model all by itself. And if you remember, again, from what change management was working with us, our department probably did the most extensive follow-up with change management. And well, I think we took a lot away from that. I think one of the issues with it was that it wasn't based on sort of its own coherent model. It was a lot of ideas from other leadership models or books that were sort of brought together rather than having it kind of its own system. And so that's one of the advantages I see with this. And I think especially for public service organizations, there are lots of examples where particularly the outward mindset curriculum has been transformative for that agency. Chip Huth, who is a former Kansas City supervisor. He was in charge of their SWAT team, their warrant service team. He has a TED Talk about how successful they were in implementing this, where they went from the most complained about unit in the Kansas City Police Department to having 0 complaints, and in the process became significantly more effective by increasing both gun and drug seizures without having to, again, improving the service without having to sacrifice the results. And so that's just one example, and I guess that's certainly one that is applicable to us and why we think it would be effective.
Alder Perella, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have a couple quick follow-ups. One, I have to say, the one thing actually that I liked on the breakdown, is the before mentioned individual coaching sessions. I think that those are potentially extremely good to have available. But so from the technical perspective, this is going to go cover 1 year, or it can go over a year, and who is going to take the classes in addition to the department's heads? And finally, is there any other city, municipalities, or local government in Wisconsin that has taken this training?
okay, a number of questions there. So this would ultimately roll out to all levels of management over the next 2 years. So the initial contract here is addressing that first rollout. And then going forward, it would just be the material supplies, and then we would be doing the training in-house. So the goal with this, we've got of the 32 seats, each department was asked to submit the number of folks that they would like participating in this. So you've got some departments may have submitted themselves and maybe a member, whether they're in management or not, but that was their decision on who they wanted to go through in this cohort. I think PD 10. There's about 10 folks from PD. And then every department head. Most departments have 1, 2 that are also in there, with the exception, I believe Fire has 4 total seats that are in there. I believe Public Works, I think they were 3 total. And then the next cohort, what we would do is the HR staff that went through would then be doing the training going forward. We'll put them through a train the trainer course as a part of this. And then they will then be doing the training in-house and then have essentially that support from the folks that went through that first cohort. So it's a combination of different processes that'll get us through that. So we would have access through the materials to the online training. And then if we needed individual training sessions or anything like that, that would be separate contractually from what we're doing in this first group. We don't anticipate that ongoing cost other than the training supplies, which are relatively low. It's just doing this initial training, get the initial group through, and then train everybody else up. It's a little over half of the management staff that were identified that will be a part of this. And then to your second question, what other departments have done this? I'm not aware of any full cities that have went through this in the state of Wisconsin, but I believe there's a number of different organizations that have worked with Arminger at various levels, but I don't know who or what that is. Like kind of in our situation where the police department individually just started training that, and we do see kind of all over the country, there's a number of different organizations, whether it's full cities or police departments that have really instituted it and went down the path of putting it through the whole organization or just in their department.
Just to clarify, the trainer is included in this contract.
The folks that would go through the trainer is just I believe that's a 2-day course. So we have the option of if we're going to send people to that or not. So we would put them through this. It's basically a very condensed version of what they're going through. So we're going to evaluate what that looks like after we go through this course, if we would send anybody to the trainer.
Okay, so it's not included in here. Correct. You will decide later if that is the case.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Alder Close.
Yeah, and I'd like to just follow up on you had mentioned, and in here as well, they talk about the different ways that this can be measured, the success level can be measured, and I want to see what is the plan to be able to see how this is going to be successful. Are there specific metrics that we're going to be able to look at and say, yes, this training was successful, time in service for customer relations calls or things like that? Is there something in particular that we're looking at here that we can point to 6 months or a year from now and say this investment was worthwhile?
I think your number one in this, obviously, employee turnover, employee retention. How many employees are applying for, going up, moving up within the organization, internal promotions, things like that is a good indication at the success of the program. How many employees are volunteering to participate in these programs, the education opportunities that are being put out there. Also, the amount of engagement that we see in the other programs that we have that aren't necessarily work or job related, but, employee activities, seeing a higher participation in that, that really gives us a good indication internally. Obviously, externally, we've got our monthly metrics that we report back, looking at, number of citizen complaints. Obviously, we're in the process of deploying new technology through the website, and helping to better track and make sure that those metrics are available, and then we can start seeing how this training is implementing things that might be more preventable from staff, whether it's people complaining about interactions with city employees versus prevention, more preventable issues coming up. Seeing reductions in those. On the police department side, obviously, as we've seen, we've had very good success. A significant drop in our crime rate from last year. Seeing those trends continue, seeing more of those positive interactions and getting to be more proactive. So if we start seeing that our model, we can shift from being proactive or reactive to more proactive in our approach in every department. Those are the metrics that we're going to be watching for.
Follow up? So after this contract is up, after we've done the purchase of training and everybody's gone through it, would the city be comfortable with, or do they have the capacity to possibly do some kind of after vendor report within a year to say whether or not this vendor was worth having, and to point at specific metrics that could be used, like you spoke about the employee turnover and things like that, being able to report on that and then use that information later on to decide whether or not we want to go with this vendor in the future. I just want to make sure that we have a data-driven, objective way to decide on vendors in the future. And if we find out that after going through the training and making this investment, that this is not an effective use of our money, that we don't go back to this in the future and use them again.
I'll speak to that. So generally, there is an opportunity for the city administrator or the human resources director to provide you a summary of the training and their perception of it. Typically, when the city handles training, we request participant feedback, so we would get that. We would also have our ongoing exit interviews and data for that. But we're generally working with subjective factors, and a lot goes into an employee's decision whether to stay or to transition to a different employer. So we do have measures in place to identify if there's room for growth through this project, but most of those measures, in my mind, today, having not gone through it yet, are going to be the softer things around the edges that data doesn't necessarily track. But I think we would be able to provide a memo that says, this many employees participated in the training. From a supervisory standpoint, we've not received any complaints about this individual's conduct following the training, that sort of thing. But even there, we're going to have to be really careful with what we put out because we don't want to expose employees' personnel discipline things unless we, really need to. So I think there's a way that we can report to council, but it might not be like what you're looking at with, tables and graphs and that sort, like numbers. I don't know that we'll be able to quantify that.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess my goal being is that we are assessing vendors as they come in, as we're using them on a regular and systematic basis. So in this case, we need to look at Arbinger as a vendor, a training vendor, and assess them based on some parameter so that we can go back and say, this vendor was worth having versus not having. And I'm not necessarily seeing that from that perspective. I'm seeing there was some success with the police department, which is great. But I haven't seen anything that says this is, from a city perspective, that a vendor that we want to go with beyond the success that we've seen with the police department. So I just want to make sure that in the future, when we are assessing vendors and assessing trainers, that we can go back and say, here is a catalog of vendors that we've dealt with in the past, and they were successful, these ones were not, and we can assess them going forward. Now, again, this vendor might be successful, and that would be fantastic, but I just want to make sure that we have a systemic approach to assessing vendors going forward.
I think our best measure of success with this program is going to be our participant feedback, as well as ongoing conversations between participants and their supervisors. How did this conflict resolve? Did you find any help with these tools in resolving that conflict? Did you need an assist from a supervisor to work through it, or were you able to work through it yourself? It's going to be more subjective measures. And then the ultimate measure will be whether the city moves forward with phase 2, which would be the internal training program, right? If it doesn't pan out, we're not going to move forward with that and adopt it as a citywide approach.
Perfect. Thank you.
Alder Decker?
Yes, I just had a couple quick questions. I mean, the ultimate goal of this program, if I'm correct, is employee retention. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, interdepartmental cooperation. I mean, those are the two multiple goals. And as I do understand that this is an expensive program, I think employee retention, you have to look at the cost of hiring and onboarding an employee. I believe that onboard a police officer is extremely expensive. By the time we onboard a police officer and get one into place, it's this money that we're spending on this could be eaten up very quickly in just a very short amount of time by losing onboarded like police department employees, fire department employees. I think even some DPW, and because again, the training, you train them, you go through all this, you get them all in, and then we lose them because of that. And I think that's a very important perspective that has to be looked at. I mean, yes, the cost is there. There is a cost, but this is also a way to possibly, in the end, save money also by doing that. So that's.
Yes, also, customer service is one of the main keys as well. You know, we're looking at this as being a tool that helps improve our interaction with the public, staff's comfortability in addressing issues with the public. So that would be another takeaway, but you're absolutely right. You know, we've changed our policy because of I would say the availability of staff. So we actually what were high costs before, we actually have more costs associated with the hiring of police and fire folks right now because we're actually paying for them to go to the academy. And in fire's case, we'll pay for them to go through and get their certifications as a part of, you know, trying to generate the skill sets that we need for hiring. So our costs are even higher than they were before. So the more turnover we can prevent in having adequate training for our staff and our management really helps, and will save a lot of money.
One quick follow-up, and I don't want to put you on the spot. If you guys don't have the answer, that's fine. What approximately does it cost to onboard a police officer?
So the process, I would say it's probably about 60-40 who we're hiring right now. 60% need to go to the academy. And so if we hire and send them to the academy, it's 18 weeks or 4.5 months. And then they go through another 16-week field training program before they count officially, right? Before they're really out on their own. And so in that time, I mean, you're talking about probably $60,000 to $80,000 all told.
Thank you. That's significant.
Any other discussion from committee? Alder Bellinger.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd just like to commend the city staff for coming up with this. Again, I am aware of the significant cost associated with it, but I go back quite a few years, and when we first migrated from a mayor system to a mayor city administrator combined system, and all through those years, I'm not aware of any, real strong, cohesive leadership training that has been in place. I think one of the benefits of something like this that has not been mentioned is that we're all aware of the numerous former employee lawsuits that have been settled and things that have gone on. I'm strongly of the opinion that if handled, correctly, professionally, we could have mitigated quite a few of those and not incurred those costs. So that is a significant cost associated with untrained leadership. So I support this. I am encouraged that there has been a collaborative approach, and this has been discussed amongst all department heads, and there is a buy-in, and that there is even a buy-in from Garrett and, the outside, Joe Trueblood, the outside entities too that want to participate and become part of this. So I find that encouraging as well. I look at this as an investment in our personnel, in our leadership, and our staff. And if this can, make them more professional, more collegial, better with the public, I'm in favor of all those things. So I support this. Alder's Close's mention, of some metrics. That would be nice if we were able to get that too, and I see that point as well. But I do, with Attorney Majerus, agree that a lot of this is subjective when you're dealing with this, and it can be hard to measure. So, but again, overall, I am in favor of this, and I commend you coming forward and bringing this to us. So thank you.
Any other discussion? I guess if not, I will just briefly add my own, and I'm pretty sure I've spoken exactly along these lines before, so I will give the brief version, but council talks a lot about supporting our staff, supporting employees and department heads. this to me seems like a situation where it's not an ask based on a sales pitch. We had multiple people say that they actually read the book and the material itself, in their estimation, was going to be valuable to themselves going through the training, their staff going through the training, and just the city in general. So it is not the cheapest program around, I'm sure. And it was very kind and polite that we had multiple staff members attempt to say nice things about programs that I'm not sure they, had a fully positive opinion on. And we've spent on those too, and perhaps did not realize the lasting value that we hope to get from it. So we'll be voting in favor of this one, and I look forward to hearing what the results are once we get started in the city. Now, if there's no further discussion, we would be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Perrella, second by Alder Decker. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. That one is approved. Next up is item number 9, resolution number 171 of 2526, authorizing entering into a First Amendment to redevelopment agreement with Partners for Community Development Incorporated.
Hello, I am excited to talk about this today. I believe I met Karen and John my first week here, so I am excited that we can finally bring this forward. To give you some historical context here, the redevelopment agreement was specifically with what staff calls the Sukawati homes. This was owned by Mr. Sukawati. He unfortunately could no longer manage them. The city had partnered with Partners for Community Development to make sure that those houses get redeveloped. The amendment before you today does have 2 key changes. The first is the timeline, and I can definitely let John and Karen speak to why the timeline needs to be extended, but the property was a little bit in worse condition than we had all thought initially. Additionally, we do have a clause change specifically on demolition. A previous agreement had stated that if if a building needs to be demolished, that the city would buy that property back. At this time, we would absolutely love for Partners to continue on with their redevelopment efforts if let's say demolition does have to happen. But I do welcome Karen and John in case I missed something or they feel like they want to add, feel free to come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I am Karen Kirchmeier. I'm the CEO for Partners. And just a little bit of addition. The process has taken significantly longer. I think the condition was absolutely one of the issues, but also funding. Partners is a nonprofit, and with the amount of work that needed to keep these houses or to make these houses livable and safe again was much more than anticipated. In the original agreement, we broke it into 3 phases. We have successfully completed phase 1, and we are looking to start phase 2. So we are seeing some successes. Our first house that was completed was a multifamily, and we already have residents in there. And those houses will remain affordable housing as long as they're in Partners' portfolio, which is for the foreseeable future. I'd like to introduce John. He's the Chief Programs Officer. He is taking the lead on this project, and he can fill in a little more.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for having us and for the collaboration over the years on these projects. With residential remodeling, we understand that costs have increased over the last few years. So our original plan in 2021, 2021, 22 has changed since we initially put that plan forward. What we're finding is that these properties have had deferred maintenance for so long that we're going to be essentially gutting every single one moving forward. So that changes the formula for us for bundling funding and our plan for each project moving forward. And what we're going to be trying to do with these projects not only get them completed, but kind of develop a model that we can replicate moving forward, so that maybe we can even move beyond these 14 properties and purchase additional properties, not only infill housing, but additional homes that can be rehabbed within the city of Sheboygan and even farther across eastern Wisconsin to be held as affordable housing in perpetuity. So that's it. Thank you.
Any discussion from committee? Alder Decker.
Yes, I guess questions for partners, I guess. Some of, now, this, what was this, 20-something houses? Was this, how many, what is it?
14 homes.
14 homes, okay. 14 homes, and you've got now how many completed right now?
We are finishing up our fourth right now.
You're finishing, so there's 10 left.
Correct.
Now, of those 10, are we confident that those are all going to be refurbishable, or are there some that are kind of questionable? That, I mean, because I guess what I'd be questioning is if they're to the point where they would need to be demolished, you know, could you be working with, say, Habitat or something like that, then to put a home on those property, you know, instead of, or something like that? Is something like that possibly in the works?
Absolutely. So each home is unique. We have identified one property via an engineering report that we will want to demolish and rebuild. And we have worked with the city planning department to, discuss potential plans for that project. So what we're doing right now as an affordable housing developer is we are bundling funds from the state of Wisconsin, the city of Sheboygan, agency funds, and other private funds to approach this in phases, as Karen mentioned. Right now, we're in the midst of our second phase, and we have been granted state of Wisconsin rental housing development funds for about $700,000 to approach this next phase for these 4 homes, and we're trying to get capital needs assessments for the final 3 or 4 for remodeling, and then to approach the new construction project as it's kind of a separate project. So yes, absolutely, new construction is on the table.
Okay.
I will, if I could add, Chair. Partners has been absolutely transparent about all of these different conditions. The house that John is referring to, the staff was alerted to immediately. Additionally, myself has gone out there. I know that building inspections have gone out there, code enforcement. There is some structural issues that it's not worth, saving in that way.
Sure. Yeah, because I believe when we made that agreement, I think there was some questions about some of those homes in the first place, whether they would be refurbishable or not. And you are maintaining the exteriors as far as the lawn and snow and all that stuff like that. So I'm perfectly fine with this.
First of all, this is one of my favorite projects.
Thank you.
The fact that we are able to partner with you to do this, I wish we could do it more and more and more and more. I mean, it's a model that I hope completely support, and as I said, I hope that we could go on with it. So just for me to understand, also for the public, because each time people ask that question. So the phase 1 would be 3 houses that you finished, or 4? 4. So that's the first one, right? And then the second, basically the second phase would be the other 10 or the other 9, and then one more phase for that one that perhaps needs to be demolished. Is that right?
Yeah. So we essentially broke down the 14 homes, and we did what we thought was the easiest project first. It wasn't so easy, and then we broke the remainder in essentially equal parts. So that's how we're applying for various funding and organizing our approaches to assess the properties.
Can you speak to a little bit more to how we keep these houses at affordable rates for the foreseeable future? What is that has to be in place for that to happen and what do we mean for the foreseeable future? Are we talking about 30 years, 40 years? I mean, whatever you can tell us about that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I can talk about that one. affordable housing is Partners' mission. So we have the multifamilies, we have no intent to sell. So they will stay affordable. So similar to Sunnyside, we have 3-bedroom townhouses. Those rents, the highest rent is $850. It is truly affordable housing. So the fact that we're a nonprofit, we have a little more room to create low rents. So as long as we are a nonprofit, the houses will be in our purview and will be affordable.
Very good. So that is basically hand in hand with your organization. So as long as you exist as an organization, is that
That is a
correct?
correct statement.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And just to add on that, John has successfully completed 2 single-family homes, and those single-family homes are also sold to low-income, first-time home buyers. So it's not just the rental properties that are available, it's also first-time home buyers, which we all know is incredibly important. So we're hitting it from all directions.
Thank you, Chair. These 14th, though, will be all for rent? Or are these going to be also possibly for sale?
So out of the 14 homes, 2 were single families. Those were sold. The single families are being sold. They're listed as we speak. The multifamilies will be rented.
Thank you for that clarification. And finally, though, going back to the reason of this vote, what are the changes again that we are going to, in fact, to approve? So one is timeline. And what else is going to change? Because there is no highlighted language in the contract in relation to what is going to change.
Yep, the demolition clause. So previously, the contract states that if a building needs to be demolished, that the city must buy it back. That's not something that we are looking to do. We would love to see Partners continue on with it.
Thank you all.
I do have one additional comment regarding affordability and the amount of time that a property would be affordable. So for the financing that we get for these projects, so it could be through HUD financing through the state of Wisconsin Rental Housing Development, or through potentially the Federal Home Loan Bank's Affordable Housing Program, there are objective mechanisms that are in place that hold as a term of financing homes as affordable throughout the loan term that is going to be provided to partners. So in addition to us being a nonprofit and it's in our mission and it's kind of, our cloth to build and maintain affordable housing, there are finance mechanisms that will ensure that they remain affordable.
Alder Bellinger.
Chairman, thank you for coming forward, and I support the changes. And I just have a question. You said that the remainder, other than the 9 or the 1 that is going to be demolished, they all need to be gutted?
Correct.
Okay, and then you, if I understand correctly, are breaking this into sections. So you're working on another 4, and so. What does that timeline look like as far as getting the next 4 done first, and I know we're granting an extension and I fully support that. I love your mission. I love what you guys do, but I'm just looking for, I know obviously everybody wants something done as soon as it can be. So I'm just kind of looking for what kind of timeline you're looking at.
Absolutely. So right now we're finalizing our construction bid with our contractor for our phase 2 development. At which point we're hoping over the next 6 months or so we're able to get that finalized and contracts signed, and then construction can commence on phase 2. We had just recently commissioned asbestos inspections on the remaining properties, in which case we can move on to the capital needs assessment and then start building financing packages for the final phase. New construction notwithstanding, we haven't really approached that yet. So I think we're looking for about a 5-year extension, and I think that phase 2 should be wrapped up within 3 years and conservatively, and then phase 3 shortly after that, because they should be running concurrently.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll say thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And ask for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Perrella, a second by Alder Decker. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Item is approved. Next up is item number 10, resolution number 173 of 2526, adopting the Mayor's International Committee travel policy.
Thank you. This is one of many policies that you will be seeing this year coming through for consideration and action. The Mayor's International Committee has an exciting trip planned to visit Subame and spend some time with our sister city delegation. And we wanted to develop a policy to standardize our approach to participation, expense reimbursement, et cetera.
Alder Close?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'll need to recuse myself from the vote and discussion as my wife serves as chair of the Mayor's International Committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Perrella, second by Alder Decker. Seeing no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All abstentions? Okay. We'll mark Alder Close for the abstention. All opposed? The chair votes aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. That one is approved. Next up is item 11, resolution number 176 of 2526, adopting the 2026 limited term position compensation rates effective March 1st, 2026.
Thank you. This ties back to item 6.
Any questions from committee? If not, we'd also be looking for a motion to approve on this one.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Perrella, a second by Alder Decker. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. That one is approved. And we are bringing down the average. Next up is item 12, resolution number 177 of 2526, authorizing the appropriate city officials to take actions necessary to purchase a release of restriction from Union Pacific to support the Mayline redevelopment project.
Thank you. So as council is aware, there's a major redevelopment project going on the former Mayline site. And you might recall that a few years ago, there was a vacation by Union Pacific of railroad right-of-way, and that was converted into the Shoreland 400 multimodal path. The multimodal path is being relocated within the parcel area or within the project area to support ongoing use with the project and to take most advantage of the location. So it allowed, by relocating the Shoreland 400 trail, it allows us to maximize the residential use of the property. Unfortunately, the Union Pacific property transfer for the trail included a restriction that said you can't use this property for residential purposes. So this is cleaning that up to allow for I believe it's a small corner footing of one of the apartment buildings that encroaches on this space to allow that.
Questions or comments? Sorry, I see Administrator Bradley, did you have more to add?
Just one thing, we talked with the developer, so they're looking at closing April 1st with financing and we'll have an amendment that'll come back to council that will incorporate the delay in the project that this delay obviously caused for the project, but now that it's known, they're looking at their closing date and they're gonna look at getting going on this project right away in the construction season this year.
Alder Decker.
Just a quick comment. I'm absolutely, I want to applaud city staff for being able to get this to go through. The railroad is not necessarily the easiest partner to work with, and to be able to get this through as quickly as they did, I applaud them very much.
I can concur about sometimes the lack of responsiveness in the past, so seconded. Any other discussion from committee? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Perrella, a second by Alder Decker. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. That item is approved. Barring objection from committee and the city attorney, I'd look to take items 13 and 14 together, being they're lots 1 and 2 of the same project, and I'm seeing a nod, so those will be resolutions number 178 and 179 of 25-26, authorizing entering into a tax incremental district development agreement with Harborview Lofts LLC for property located at 636 Wisconsin Avenue, and further authorizing the issuance of taxable tax increment project municipal revenue obligation, Lot 1 and Lot 2.
So just want to talk through the development agreement process, and then we'll have Taylor, she's the one that negotiated the development agreement here. But so as we all recall, we've been using the same form, we've been using the same process. There's a couple instances tonight that we heard that, we're not involving the neighborhood, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. That's false. This is step 1 of the development agreement the development process. So what is coming before you is a development agreement that basically lays out what we would expect and what incentives would be tied to that between the city and the developer. So the developer's got conceptual plans that are attached to this, so you have an understanding, and the developer has an understanding that if he performs or they perform in accordance with that, we're all going to move forward. I would draw your attention to item 3.4, compliance and obligation. All of the developer improvements shall be completed in accordance with all applicable laws, regulations, ordinances, and building and zoning codes. And developer shall, at developer's cost, obtain and maintain all necessary permits and licenses for the developer improvements. So by you moving forward and approving this development agreement, all you're doing is saying that if you fulfill all the requirements, then you would get the incentive that is laid out. So the intent of this is so that the developer knows if they go through this process, they'd make the designs that will need to be publicly vetted. They make amendments or changes that are a result of the public discussion, that the developer has a reasonable assurance that they can move forward once they've obtained all the applicable permits going through the process. Nothing in our development agreement exempts them from any process that is approved in our zoning code or any ordinances, and does not waive any fees that all developers have to pay on projects. So just wanted to refresher on that process. So this is the start of the process. This is not the end of the process. With that, I'll turn it over to Taylor, unless there's any questions on the process.
Hello all, I am excited to talk about this 136 unit development. You will see that it is in 2 different portions tonight. The first one is a 126 unit that is going to be assessed at a little bit over $22 million. The other is going to be a rent capped 10 townhomes. The reason why it is separated out tonight is simply because of construction staging, to make sure that they have enough room to lay out all of their materials, building, things of that nature. They asked for 2 separate timelines, acknowledging that there's not enough space based on this being an infill project. I think a lot of us are familiar. This site, it used to be the Wells Fargo Bank. It now sits vacant. So the city staff is excited to see something happen with this lot. I know that parking was a concern that was brought up. Parking is something that the developer has taken seriously. You can see on page 15 of both of the development agreements that parking is addressed. Additionally, something that I like to highlight is on Exhibit D, specifically on the 126 apartment units, you will see that there are 8 3-bedroom apartments. This is something that the community has asked for desperately, acknowledging that we have a lot of intergenerational living here, so having that 3-bedroom aspect is absolutely crucial. But that's just a brief overview on this project. The staff is excited to have this go to Plan Commission, just to have them look at it. But in terms of tonight, this is just the development agreement.
Any discussion from committee? Alder Close.
Yes, I know in the past we've belabored the topic of incentives on a lot of these TID agreements, and I'd like to just go over real quick what mechanism is at play here with the incentives that are being provided. It does appear that they're pay as we go, and I wanted to just go through that process of what happens, how is the incentive paid out, what happens on low increment years, what happens when they're unable to, when there isn't an increment that they can pull from for that incentive. I want to make sure I'm addressing that there's a concern that the incentive will get pulled from the general fund at some point in time. So I want to address where that incentive is coming from and how the developers will be able to receive it.
Thank you. I'm happy to speak on that. So how the development agreements have been structured here for the city, it is a pay-as-you-go, so it is completely contingent and dependent on how much increment is collected on the property and that the developer actually pays the taxes first. So they actually are paying a big chunk of money up front, and then we look at the finance department looks at all the agreements that are out there on an annual basis and make a payment back to the contractor in the form of an incentive payment. The funding comes and is accounted for completely separately, so this is in TID 21. So any of that increment that's collected is kept within TID 21 fund, completely in a separate accounting, not in a different system, but in an accounting structure system. So we have to report on this annually. There would be no time that the general fund would be covering that. In the extreme case, it could be at the close of a TID, but we haven't had that come up here at the city. We've actually had excess funds in the TIDs at closure every time. I think I've closed I've closed 7 now since I've started here, and all had excess funds that were returned back to the county, school district, tech college, and the city. So in an extreme case, but that's what we're doing here at the city and the staff level, is making sure that we are bringing forward developments that are allowing the funding to match what is available within the TID, both on the public funding project side and in any type of incentive situation.
Great, thank you. Can I add one follow-up?
Just before that, Administrator Bradley, did you have more to add?
Just one additional thing, one unique element of this development agreement, and it's similar to the Lucia Apartments agreement that we have, because this has an affordable component to it. In addition to verifying what the development agreement says, we will also be verifying the rent certification to ensure that the rent on those 10 affordable apartments are meeting the median income for that fiscal year according to HUD standards for the county. So there's one additional step that this developer is going to have to achieve. And this is for the life of the TID, not just a certain period of time. So this will TID 21 was a redevelopment TID, so it's a 27-year TID. So they have to comply with that for the life of the TID until it's dissolved.
That actually addresses my initial follow-up question, but I would like you to speak on what is the expected rent range or unit mix? Are we expecting them to be 60, 80% AMI? How do we expect to measure the affordability of these units?
I can speak to that. The townhomes, that's where that rent cap is going to be in that, and that is set by HUD standards. So HUD defines affordable housing as 30% of your monthly income. So that's where that is. The 126 units, that's going to be market rate.
Thank you.
Alder Perella.
Thank you, Chair. Some of the concerns that we have heard, and which I partially share, are about the fact that this is the same, and please you confirm, this is the same developer that has developed, in fact, you mentioned one other project in the city. So can you please speak to why that is? And again, why these incentives are so needed right now. The fact that we are going to give the land for $1 and then there are the incentives, is this really needed? So then we go back to the concern that has been shared in the beginning of the meeting in regards to the BOT test. How do we address that? Yeah, obviously the developer has opinion has a weight, but how does that? How do we substantiate that statement from the developer? In other words, do we really need these incentives to develop an apartment building in that prime location? If yes, why yes? Or if there are options that we could consider still. And could we consider other options now?
Acknowledging that there are lots of questions there. The first one is why this developer? I will say in terms of the developers that I have worked with both here and outside of here, the developer that is on this project is absolutely wonderful to work with. I will say that his crew is absolutely detailed or oriented. I will also say that they are kind and they are collaborative with staff. That's huge. I also find that they have a fantastic product, a product that I would personally live in. And I think that's really, really important that we bring housing is something. I think it's really, really important to bring forward housing that all of us want to live in and all of us should be able to have quality, fair housing. In terms of the but-for, they do have to submit a pro forma, and that's how staff identifies this but-for clause, or but-for TIF, this project could not happen. And that same analysis was done here. So that's why there is a TIF incentive. I will say that due to the lot and some issues with it, I definitely think that this is the best option to move forward. When I say issues with this lot, acknowledging that there was some demolition, there was some contamination with it, making sure that parking is a priority. This is something that the developer has fully taken on, and this is something that he is excited to tackle.
Can I just follow up on that? So I understand that the developer is looking at options and solutions for the parking, which is great because it's needed. As far as the issues you are referring to, these are things that would have happened with any other developer that correct? I mean, it's not something that the developer, in which way that determines that this developer is better than another?
Yeah, I can absolutely speak to the environmental aspect, as this developer has taken on a multitude of projects. When he sees that there is an environmental issue, he tackles it head on and does above and beyond testing. That's not something that all developers do, and I absolutely commend him for taking that additional step.
Any other discussion from committee? Alder Close.
Thank you. So I have had, this is happening to my district, and I have had some complaints in the past about vibration, so I really want to commend that there is a section in this developer agreement directly addressing vibrations and different construction noises and things. This is a highly populated area and a highly trafficked area, so I appreciate that consideration. But I do want to address, what is the mitigation? So it does address, it's a 3.2 subsection I, addresses vibration and construction noise and things like that. How can people address this if they are noticing that there is excessive vibration or noise or dust settling on their homes, things like that? Where can they go to address those concerns?
Yeah, I would absolutely encourage them to call my office with all of our downtown development. This is something that our office has been fielding. I will also say that general contractors have been reactive when it comes to complaints and things like that. So we would welcome them to reach out to our office.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve, and just remember this is items 13 and 14 together.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Perella, a second by Alder Decker. Then seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Those items are approved. Next up is item number 15, resolution number 180 of 2526, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a professional services agreement with Eplix LLC for project plan review services.
Hello, this is a project where I am excited to wear my building inspection hat. This project, and to give some historical context, when it comes to building plan reviews, if let's say a property is over 10,000 square feet, the city does have to send it to state, specifically DSPS. This is a group that reviews site plan reviews and things of that nature. So when you think of larger developments, they most likely went to state. The city is looking to engage with EU Plan, which is on the agenda here tonight. E-Plan will allow us to send it to them instead of state. The perks of that being is that the turnaround time is less than 14 days. Additionally, staff has looked in to see what part of the process are they at. They can also help provide some clarification if, let's say, there's issues with easements and things like that. Same thing if there is concerns of environmentally, staff can also give feedback there. This is a huge asset for us. This not only helps us, but this also helps the fire department when it comes to our ISO rating. I would also like to say that our comp cities also engage in this project or process. Appleton, Green Bay, Janesville, Waukesha, Wausau, Oshkosh, West Bend, and this is something that staff is really excited for.
Any questions or comments? Alder Close.
Yeah, I wanted to see if this is something that, is this addressing a capacity issue with the planning department? And if so, is there a plan in the future to address that capacity concern? Are we planning on backfilling a position that can solve this problem internally? Or is this going forward to use this contractor permanently?
So currently, we don't have any building inspection vacancies. What currently happens is that our building inspectors will review plans that are under 10,000 square feet. As soon as it hits that above threshold, it does have to be sent to state. The verbiage for that is to become a delegated city. The city is currently not. The hopes with this contract is to, instead of sending it to state, would be to send it to this third-party service. When the city sends it to state, we don't know when we are getting it back. We don't know the timeline. We have seen some projects be turned around in 7 days. We have seen them take 3 months. So it just depends on what the state's backlog is. I will say that this will help staff as staff continues to navigate through the building plan review process.
One follow-up. So is this, is it required to go to this third party or the state? We can't bring that service internally?
Correct. We cannot do this internally. It has to be to some third party.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Alder Perella?
Thank you. No, I was thinking, you said yes, that you cannot do that yourself. I understand that it's better to have basically a mediator to go to that deals with the state, if I understand correctly. But why you could, if you wanted, let's say you have plenty of, you have a team so large that you have the time to do that, you would be able to do it yourself.
No, so the city does not have the delegation status, therefore we cannot approve plans over 10,000 square feet.
So you just send them to the state, right? And then
Right now, yes.
Basically the part that you are delegating is dealing with the state to understand what's the status of the project, the review, and if there is any issue to be addressed, right?
So the city is looking to, instead of sending it to state, we would we would then send it to EU Plan to have them review it. So instead of the state, we'll send it to someone else.
Very good. So this basically replaces the state as far as the review?
Yes.
Do you have an example of a project that we recently could have done that with?
Yes, there was a amusement facility this summer that we could have sent to EU Plan instead of the state. The issue is that the city had referred it to state. We didn't know at what point we were going to get the plans back. We truly did not know the status of it. Moving forward with this, we will absolutely know the status of it.
Very good. So we are talking about the amusement in my district, right? Very good. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Perella, a second by Alder Decker. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. That one's approved. Next up, we have items for discussion only. Staff update regarding the table of organization study for the Mead Public Library.
Good evening again. In October, my longtime library deputy director, Melissa Prentice, took a position with the Milwaukee Public Library System. And so I quickly moved to work with the HR department, and I had our third person, sort of, we have two managers underneath me, and the other manager was promoted to that deputy director position. And then prior to me moving on to backfill Cheryl Nessman's position, I had a good discussion with Administrator Bradley about perhaps slowing down and bringing in someone from the outside to really talk about the library's management structure as well as our table of organization. And he said that he had a company that had worked with the Department of Public Works as well as the Planning Department to do a supervisory and organizational structure assessment. And so I did bring that then to the library board in November, and they agreed that that was a good idea to bring in someone from the outside rather than just kind of continuing down the same path we've been going for many years. So we did indeed hire Bold Path Consulting, which had done the two previous studies at the city. And so the goals of the study are really to look at the library's management structure, the overall table of organization, as well as down the road help us with job descriptions just to make sure that those are all done correctly and consistent and so on. So that's sort of our goals of the project. So far, Bold Path has delivered a job description for that vacant management position. So we're getting very close to to recruiting for that. And last week, Bold Path interviewed about a third of the library staff, which is 15 out of about 45 people. And he's really looking to, in his report, look at what the feedback from the staff, as well as looking at the data and models of other libraries in the state. And so he'll compile all that together. And then at that point, he'll certainly share any final report with city administration, the library board, and the Common Council as well. Since that was towards the end of the year, we had not planned for it through a budgeting process, so the library board did agree to use its fund balance account to pay for that, and so that's where the money is coming from. Alder Close has been, if you don't know, is our Alder liaison to the library board, so he's been involved in the process this whole time. So I don't know, is there questions on the process? I think we've gone through it a couple of times with a few of the other departments, so it's going to be a very similar process.
Any questions or comments from committee? Any other input? Keep it short and sweet, and I'll just say thank you for being here and thank you for the update as the process is unfolding. Alder Close.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that, like you said, I'm on the the library board as well. The general consensus from the staff as well is there is a definite need for taking a look at the overall structure, and he's being very modest in saying how the amount of workload that is being taken on by the leadership team is extraordinary, and there has been notes from the board and talking about different employees worried about their management. So this study will go a long way in making sure that the management team is right-sized and people are in appropriate positions, and that we want to make sure that folks are where they need to be and responsibilities are delegated appropriately. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Perrella?
Yeah, I just want to add that it's a great effort, and I think I would support anything to improve the already fantastic service that the library offers. So anything to anything to improve on the opportunities that are there is a great effort.
Alder Decker?
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think I applaud the library for doing this. I think that the roles of libraries have changed a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, things have changed. It's digital. There's a lot of more, and so I'm guessing that the responsibilities have changed a lot along with that. And so I'm very encouraged by you doing this.
All right, this one was for discussion only, so if there are no more cues, can move on to a reminder that the tentative date of the next meeting will be March 9th of this year, and with that, we have exhausted our agenda. I won't make the joke. And are looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.